The following may not be suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised.
Energy Minister Franklin Khan has died. Energy Minister Franklin Khan, 63, has died. Khan, who has been suffering from heart problems for years, was last seen by his relatives around 11:30 p.m. last Friday, before retiring to bed. Police reports stated that they woke at about 6:30 a.m. yesterday and went looking for him to have his regular morning coffee, but they found his body unresponsive in his chair. Khan's body bore no marks of violence. Khan, who was in good health, received his Astra Zeneca vaccination on Tuesday at the Diego Martin Health Facility. But even as the country mourns his surprise passing, questions are being asked about whether the Astra Zeneca vaccine, which he received 4 days prior, may have played a part in his sudden death. Questions about the possible role the vaccination may have played in his death were amplified in the wake of the death of pensioner Ijaz Hanif last week as well. A few countries have initiated probes into the Astra Zeneca vaccine after complaints of clotting. Hanif, a heart patient under the Southwest Regional Health Authority's SWRHA care, developed blood clots and paralysis within days after taking his jab. He died 8 days after his first injection. The SWRHA is still investigating Hanif's case, but said initial evidence suggested no link between the vaccine and his death. However, Hanif's relatives insisted that the doctors who were treating him at the San Fernando General Hospital said the only thing they could attribute to the clotting was the vaccine. As citizens mourned Khan's passing yesterday, the issue was foremost on their minds. In 2017, Khan was on vacation in Thailand when it was reported that he had suffered a heart attack. It was later clarified that while he did not have a heart attack, he did have a heart-related issue and was resting at home. At yesterday's Ministry of Health COVID-19 update, Chief Medical Officer Dr. Roshan Parasam was asked whether Khan received the COVID-19 vaccine and whether he was a point of contact for the Prime Minister. Parasam referred those questions to either the Office of the Prime Minister or the Minister of Energy. Condolences to the family. Any information relating to the Honourable Minister will be coming from either the Office of the Prime Minister or the line ministry of that particular minister, Parasam said. In the past 2 weeks, Khan was front and center on two important matters. As Minister of Energy, he was a point person for the investigation into the explosion and subsequent fire at Naikwan Energy in Point Lisas. And as leader of government business, the opposition was in contact with him to get the Parliament chamber sanitized, since Prime Minister Rowley had attended a sitting within the 14 days of being diagnosed with the coronavirus. The opposition was also pushing for Khan to be tested for the disease since he was in close proximity to the Prime Minister at an energy event days before the Prime Minister was diagnosed as positive. While there is currently no evidence to support the theory that the COVID vaccine may be creating complications for heart patients, former Amira Mayor Ghassan Youssef posted a warning on social media about his concerns as a heart patient who took the vaccine. Youssef claims he took the vaccine on Thursday, and 1 day later his heart went to atrial fibrillation on an abnormal beat. Yesterday, I took the AstraZeneca vaccine, checking my heart rhythm with a machine acquired 3 years ago, where I check every morning on the heartbeat. It's saying it seems this morning that my heart went to atrial fibrillation, he said. He warned people who suffer from this condition to check with their doctor before taking the vaccine. Hopefully, the heart will go back into the normal rhythm soon. I will keep you updated, he said. Many of Khan's colleagues either took to social media or issued media releases expressing their shock at this sudden loss. Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley described Khan as a patriot and a son of the soil and offered his deepest condolences to Khan's family. Rowley said he was extremely saddened by the passing of his colleague and friend and said Khan would be remembered as a man who dedicated his life to public service. May God bring comfort and strength to his loved ones, Rowley posted on social media. One former government senator took to social media to describe seeing Khan at the Nylon Pool, Tobago, just days ago and said he always offered great advice. Minister of Rural Development Kazim Hossein reportedly told another media house that he spoke with Khan on Friday night and all was well. Khan, he said, was not ailing and did not indicate that he was unwell. Former Energy Minister under the People's Partnership government, Kevin Ramnarin, also offered his condolences, saying that he was saddened by Khan's passing. In recent times, we had developed a cordial relationship. I offer my condolences and sympathy to his family and loved ones. May he rest in peace, Ramnarin said. Some people on social media outright questioned whether he died from COVID-19, while others questioned why his vaccination was not being discussed more openly. One social media user said, "So wait, we're not talking about his vaccine a few days ago?" Another said, "I hope you're all taking notes. Persons with heart disease die after being vaccinated." Another was adamant, "Not me, I ain't taking it." Yet another said, "When I heard of his passing, the first question came to mind was, did he take the vaccine? Now it's clear as day." One other person said the government could keep the vac and store it.
This program contains material of a disturbing nature. Viewer discretion is advised.
Man dies 8 days after taking Astra Zeneca vaccine. Doctors have confirmed that Princestown resident Ijaz Hanif, who died 8 days after taking the COVID AstraZeneca vaccine, suffered cardiac failure due to lack of sufficient blood and oxygen, leading to his heart. The report, done by surgeon Dr. Amil Hara, gave the cause of death as multi-organ failure, bilateral limb and abdominal wall ischemia, aortic thrombosis, diabetes mellitus, ischemic heart disease, and congestive cardiac failure. According to the National Center for Biotechnology Information, NCBI in the United States, ischemia is defined as inadequate blood supply to a local area due to blockage of the blood vessels supplying the area. Ischemic heart disease is a term given to heart problems caused by narrowed heart arteries that supply blood to the heart muscle. The NCBI states that the narrowing can be caused by a blood clot or by constriction of the blood vessel, but added that it can also be caused by the buildup of plaque called atherosclerosis. Relatives had told the media that when Hanif was admitted to the San Fernando General Hospital, the medical staff treating him had told them he had a blood clot. Hanif was laid to rest yesterday, 8 days after he took the COVID-19 vaccine. His sister accused the hospital authorities of covering up the truth, insisting that it was complications from the vaccine that caused his death. His eldest sister, Nazira Amin, claimed that her brother's medical files had gone missing. They're covering it up. They say they can't find his files. Where the files disappear? We don't know where it disappeared. because it looked like they get rid of it as soon as he died. As soon as he died, they get rid of it, and then they call us and tell us he died, she claimed. Speaking with reporters, following the funeral service at the House of Mourning at Realize Road, Princestown, Amin said her brother was feeling well when he went to the Princestown Health facility to get the vaccine. He was good before. It is a vaccine that make him get like that. In a matter of a few days, he died. He's still young. He would have been 61 next month. Amin said she would not be taking the vaccine. I tell myself I will not take the vaccine. Seeing what happened to him, how he suffer and how they denying it and they don't want to say it's a vaccine. What else make him sick? What else? She said the hospital's officials would have been aware he had triple bypass surgery. He was okay with it, and as soon as he take the vaccine, well, she believed they should have done proper research before giving him the vaccine. She recalled that at the hospital, her brother made them touch his feet, and they felt cold like ice. He showed us his belly, the clot all over his leg, and that was it. She had a message for the authorities. They didn't do the job properly. They just giving people vaccine just like that. It's not a right thing. I think they should know before they give them it. Amin said her brother was a very nice, loving man. He was a father of 2 adult children. At the funeral, Imam Al-Muddin Hossein urged relatives and friends not to fret over his death. Why? Because the time has reached for him to go. No one dies before their actual time. There is nothing like he died before his time. Hanif, a retired public health inspector, complained of belly pains 2 days after he got the vaccine. Falil Ali said his uncle went to get his belly rubbed, but when it was time for his uncle to get up, he could not move. He was paralyzed from the waist down and had developed blood clots. Ali said doctors at the San Fernando General Hospital eventually told relatives there was nothing more they could do for him. The Southwest Regional Health Authority, SWRHA, however, has stated that a preliminary clinical investigation indicated that there was no evidence linking the patient's condition with the vaccine. Contacted yesterday about claims that Hanif files were missing, SWRHA's corporate communications manager, Kevon Jervis, said the authority was reserving any further comment on this matter. Family and friends of Kern Richards urged at funeral to forgive the cops. Grieving friends and relatives of Icacus fisherman Kern Richards were urged not to seek revenge but forgive the officers who took his life. The call was made by Father Dexter Mitchell during an emotional service at the St. Patrick RC Church in Cedros yesterday. Under the watchful eyes of police officers, the casket-bearing Richards' body was first taken to his home, where scores of mourners were gathered. Unable to contain her grief, his mother, Michelle Richards, gently stroked his face as she cried out. Some people wore jerseys with his name and photos printed on them, while others placed cigarettes and bottles of beer in his casket. This was followed by a vehicular procession accompanied by a music truck to the church. Richards, 38, a father of 1, was shot and killed by the police at his home on April 9 during a search for arms and ammunition. Police said a gun was found at the house, but relatives claimed he did not own a gun. Father Dexter Mitchell said, You could be very hurting and they may want to talk about revenge, but there are two things you could want: justice or you could want revenge. Revenge is really the poison of the soul. Reminding them that when Jesus was being crucified on the cross, he called on God to forgive them. Michelle said, "We have to forgive, but it is hard. It will take a long time to forgive, very, very long, but we have to forgive." It is not easy. When you see those who persecute you, you say to them, "Peace be with you." That's a theology that I know is very difficult. That if somebody is doing something terrible to you, how could you find it in your heart to forgive? Noting that he too had unpleasant encounters with the police, he said, "My dear family, I don't want you to look at every police officer as a bad police officer. Leave it up to God. Let's hope that the justice system in the country do what they have to do." He encouraged them to keep praying because prayers will help them through this difficult time. In the eulogy, Richard's friend Ansel Lemessy said he loved Venezuela and spoke Spanish fluently, always respectful to elders and those in authority. He said Richards loved to have fun, party, play pranks on his friends, was always well-dressed, and all the girls loved him. He said Richards served on the Icacus youth group, coached football, and helped them. Lawyers allege misconduct in police interview of Sort Head. Lawyers representing Special Operations Response Team SORT, Head Inspector Mark Hernandez and other members of the unit under investigation for the deaths of 2 suspects in the abduction and murder of Andrea Barrett, have complained about the tactics being used by investigators of the Professional Standards Bureau, PSB. Guardian Media understands that Hernandez's team of lawyers and a separate set for the 14 other officers and soldiers who have been questioned by investigators over the past 2 weeks raised the issue in a series of legal letters sent to the Police Commissioner Gary Griffith and Deputy Commissioner of Police McDonald Jacob between Wednesday and yesterday. In a letter sent to Jacob on Wednesday, which was obtained by Guardian Media, Robert Vincent Charles and Darren Mitchell, who are representing most of the group, pointed out several serious concerns and irregularities with their clients' treatment. Despite our arrival at the Maloney police station at the designated hour indicated by telephone message to each SORT member, there were inordinate and unjustifiable delays in commencing the interviews that were based solely on the interpretation of investigators of the TTPS directive that a person being interviewed for a capital matter must consult with an attorney at law from the Legal Aid Duty Council, Charles said, as he pointed out that his clients had the constitutional right to a legal advisor of their own choice. Charles also pointed out that investigators acted oppressively, as in one case they waited 27 hours after an officer surrendered to interview him, and then spent 6 hours questioning him over issues which he, the officer, had already extensively addressed in a previously provided witness statement. Charles' correspondence mainly focused on alleged threats and inducements used by investigators in an attempt to have the officers implicate themselves. According to Charles, the investigators suggested to one officer that if he cooperated, he would be charged with a lesser offense and be granted bail. This was done in my presence and during this lengthy interview. Unsurprisingly, my client took the statement from both investigators as an inducement and or threat to him whilst the interview was being conducted, Charles said. As he noted, his other clients were also subjected to such improper conduct. Charles suggested that the investigator's conduct breached his client's constitutional rights. Whilst I certainly appreciate that the matters under inquiry are of a serious nature, I am deeply troubled and indeed disappointed to have to highlight the fact that all of my clients are serving members of the various protective arms of the state, as well as with all suspects in every matter under inquiry, enjoy the protection of the law in relation to their constitutional rights and privileges, Charles said, as he called on Jacob to launch an investigation into the investigator's conduct. In a letter sent to Griffith yesterday, Hernandez's lawyers, Wayne Sturge, Mario Merritt, and Alexia Romero, sought to threaten legal action over his protracted detention without being charged. Hernandez's legal team claimed that after he submitted himself to police on Wednesday, investigators allegedly claimed they had the expectation that he would incriminate himself during an interview and be charged based on his expected alleged admissions. The actions of the police officers are clearly oppressive, as they are designed to sap the willpower of my client in the hope that he will surrender evidence that can form the basis for a criminal charge. I trust that you will understand the prejudice that flows from this type of action in relation to any possible prosecution, Sturge said. Sturge suggested that the investigators' actions highlighted the extent of the evidence already gathered by them. What has been pellucidly clear is that at present, the investigating officers have no evidence that my client was involved in the commission of any criminal offense, he added, as he gave investigators until 4 p.m. yesterday to release his client. Guardian Media understands the lawyers had not received a response up to late yesterday and were expected to file the proposed habeas corpus lawsuit. Sources said Hernandez and a female police constable, WPC, were the only two of the group of almost 24 people detained for questioning who remained in custody up to yesterday afternoon. Both Hernandez and the WPC were expected to participate in separate identification parades, which were scheduled to take place after midday yesterday. Sources said the PBS investigators are considering whether to charge some of the officers with the duo's murder, as well as for the alleged assault of a man who was held for questioning in relation to Barrett's disappearance. Balkan and Morris were prime suspects in the abduction of Andrea Barrett, a clerk at the Arima Magistrates Court who went missing on January 29. Within hours of Barrett's disappearance, Morris and Balkan were detained by the team of SORT and Anti-Kidnapping Unit AKU officers. Morris died at hospital on February 1st, while Balkan succumbed to injuries he allegedly sustained in police custody almost a week later. Barrett's bloated and decomposing body was found days before Balkan's death, February 4, dumped over a precipice in Heights of Aripo. Negus George was eventually charged with Barrett's murder. Hernandez has been shortlisted for one of the 3 Deputy Commissioner of Police DCP posts. His nomination by the Police Service Commission PSC is yet to be debated and approved by Parliament. Hernandez is also being represented by John Heath.